It is Good Fat Friday. I'm your host, Roland Chambers. Welcome back. This is episode 2 of the FAB years. Since the fabmagazine.com online digital platform was taken down last year, I've decided to bring the world of FAB back to you on this online platform. So I hope you enjoy. Today is our second episode. We'll be looking at issue 189, an issue I like to call Desire Exposed. 189 was from May 9th to the 22nd of 2002. Once again, this cover was the brainchild of our new editor, Mitchell Rainful, and his crew. The cover story was to be about Inside Out, so of course, why not put a hot guy in a director's chair wrapped in film? It catches your attention right away, and you want to delve deeper into what the magazine is all about. So let's take a closer look inside issue 189, shall we? First page, we got a lovely gay ad from Dominion, proud to be part of the community. And this was, of course, about 15 years before gay Loblaws took over Maple Leaf Gardens. Gay Loblaws, a great place to go to buy fruit and pick up meat. Second page, got an ad from Woody's once again, and they had a little notice in their ad about the annual pre-op fashion show, which is always something to look forward to because most of the models are basically just wearing pre-op underwear and pre-op swimsuits and leatherwear and whatever sexy gay wear there was, because pre-op, of course, was the gay store. Pre-op, by the way, is, I guess, the forefather of stores like Out on the Street, kind of, and Men's Room, which coincidentally was also situated in the exact same spot that pre-op was, pre-op above the sailor side of Woody's. Men's Room, of course, has moved, so it's more accessible. It's on the main floor, about 5 stores south of Woody's. Second page is going to ad for Fashion Fair, Circus Circus. Not sure who the headliner was that year. Next page is our masthead. Issue 189, May 9th to the 22nd of 2002. Editor-in-Chief Mitchell Rainful, Art Director Dustin Station, Deputy Editor Stephen Beresnay, Associate Editor Andre Namath, Music Editor Elio Yannachi. Editorial Assistants Ryan Porter and James Sharani. Contributors Kamal Al-Solali, Sergio Alvarado, Paul Bellini, me, Roland Chambers, Brad Fraser, Todd Klink, James Murray, Michael Rowe, Alex Rolston, and Jason Tashir. Photographers Sean Cohen, Stephen Gervar, David Haw, and John White. Director of Advertising and Business Development, Anton El Hashim. National Account Manager, John White. And of course, this was put out by No Fear Publishing. The cover was shot by Stefan Gregoire. This was Stefan's first cover for FAB magazine. Art director by Jordan Worth. Model, Roger Walker of Ford Models. I tried to track down Roger Walker, but I couldn't. And interestingly enough, just going through Facebook, 75 to I think 80% of the Roger Walkers were actually black. I was looking for a white guy. Hair by Michelle Thompson of Lid Lounge. Location, the Lid Lounge. As I said, this is the Renaissance years of FAB. So this is our second issue and our first letters at FAB magazine, where people could write in and tell us what they thought of the last issue. This is the only issue I've ever seen where every single letter that was sent in was in praise of FAB. Usually it's half and half. Sometimes it's 75% hating it, 25% liking it, whatever. And the editors, especially Mitchell, love to put quirky little titles for each of the letters, which didn't necessarily capture what the letters were about, but they sounded interesting. Twink has a scrawny ass. Coveted reader, troll is scary, lesbian loves Drew, FAB warned, Mark Hall, and then there's FAB fresh. So this letter, I saw the new issue and it looks great. The caliber of writing and the writers are instantly better. I'm really glad to see FAB freshen up and I'm eager to see what you've got in store. Matt Mills. Matt Mills, by the way, was an editor with Extra Magazine, which is the other queer publication in Toronto. About 10 years later, Extra Magazine, through their parent company, Pink Triangle Press, but of course, by FAB Magazine. FAB Magazine was sold to them by Michael Schwartz and Kim McRae in hopes that they would take care of the magazine. They didn't want to sell it to Torstar, which they hadn't an offer for, because they figured Pink Triangle Press would take care of the magazine. Little did they know, just a few years later, they would screw FAB over, close down the magazine, and then a few years later after that, erase the website. Bye-bye, FAB. Thanks. Editor's letter from Mitchell Rainful. Not so long ago, coming out meant a trip to the library to find oneself reflected in literature, or to the cinema to read into film's homoerotic subtext. A how-to-be-gay handbook did not exist. And then, of course, he went into what the issue was about. The feature article was about Inside Out, so it talks about Brad Fraser writing about the Catholic Church and their scandals. And he finishes with, sexual fluidity and exploration galvanizes artists and filmmakers, not politicians. Where was Ellen Rock's outrage when police raided Toronto's lesbian bathhouse night dubbed the Pussy Palace? Women with strap-ons exploring their sexuality? It's all too messy. Those kind of issues are best explored at the Inside Out Film Festival because when it comes to sex, most politicians are impotent. Society reluctantly embraces a rigid gay sexual identity as long as it mirrors heterosexual normative behavior, like going to the prom. Fortunately, there are plenty of flamers who carry the torch for sexual reality. Next page is our sushi page, all the fun quotes and little tidbits from around the world. My favorite quote from this sushi was, "He's wearing perfectly fashionable male attire of the day, but the earring and the hair are effeminate and unusual for the 1590s. This was Alec Cobb explaining why his painting prompted scholars to speculate on Shakespeare's sexuality and led London's Sun tabloid to dub the bard Shakespeare. We have an article on a fundraiser for turn slaves into meat. Will Sky Gilbert lick boots? The playwright activist is one of several Toronto celebs up for a slave auction later this month. It's all part of a fundraiser organized by John Presick, publisher of the quarterly arts and lifestyle mag, Trade Queer Things. To be politically correct, he's dropping the term slave auction and is dubbing the alternative event meat market. But let's just call a slave. And the proceeds for this auction will go to the Pussy Palace Defense Fund. In September 2000, Toronto police raided the women-only bathhouse night and charges were laid for liquor license infractions. All charges have been dropped, but legal fees remain to be paid. Army pants banned at fetish night. Northbound Leather's George Dioris, I probably messed up his name, was cracking the whip when it comes to dress code at the new venue for his store's popular monthly fetish night. Fatigues will not cut it at Fetish at 5. Anybody can buy a $10 pair of army pants with a pair of boots, says Mr. Dioris. It's entered the regular fashion world. If you can get it at Winners, it ain't Dungeon Dude. So now Northbound Leather's having a fetish night at 5, and this is their 15th location in 12 years. Toronto gets wet, Montreal gets dry. Toronto is getting ready for its first indoor wet party, just as Montreal is bowing out of a decade-long tradition of hosting a similar event. After 10 years, Bad Boy Club Montreal, best known for organizing the city's black and blue circuit extravaganza every fall, is abandoning the water theme for its wild and wet party held in May. Goodbye, squirt gun, hoses, and legitimate excuses for gyrating circuit boys to take off their shirts. The dry event has been revamped and renamed Fresh, according to BBCM organizer Caroline Roos. Caroline. I love Caroline. But just as Montrealers are wimping out, Torontonians are getting their squirt guns, speedos, and snorkels ready. On the second Friday of each month, circuit boys migrate east of the ghetto, heading to the Opera House for the newest party in town, Release. Foreign probes safe sex in an epidemic. We are in a pandemic right now. Back then, we were still in the midst of the AIDS epidemic. Impotence and low sex drive due to HIV treatment, condom fatigue, and barebacking are just some of the topics that will be discussed at an upcoming HIV forum in Toronto. Renowned sexologist Dr. Simon Rosser will facilitate discussions and answer tough questions. This forum is not going to be about making any judgments on people's behaviors, says Ron Rosanes of the AIDS Committee of Toronto. At the end of the day, we still have a lot of questions, not just how to have sex in an epidemic, but how to enjoy it. Next page, news. Bisexuals are more prone to depression. Bisexuals have a higher risk of severe anxiety, depression, and suicide than either straights or gays, reports an Australian study. Gay men and lesbians had problems too, but they were generally not as severe as among bisexuals. It is positive that having neither a clear heterosexual or homosexual orientation is an important stressor, in addition to the social pressure of having a different sexual orientation to the majority, researchers were quoted in USA Today. X-Men Sexy Beast comes out. One of the founding members of the mutant superhero team, the X-Men, has come out for a second time. Already hated and feared by a chunk of the world for being a genetic anomaly, Hank McCoy, codename Beast, was forced to open up about his mutant status several years ago. Now the blue-haired Beast is coming out of another closet. As of press time, Marvel Comics media spokesman Brian Reiner was unable to tell FAB who would get Beast's official coming out story, Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, or Oprah Winfrey. And this was written by Stephen Bresnay. The Bisexuals Are More Prone to Depression piece, by the way, was written by Jason Tashir. Speaking of Oprah Winfrey, I think she's the only one left out of those three that's still making waves. Hello, Meghan and Harry interview. Inaccurate HIV test. Anyone who tested negative for HIV using popular rapid tests may actually be HIV positive, Health Canada warns. Clinics were told to stop using the test last week after the British Columbia Centre for Disease Control detected false negative results. The test uses a finger prick drop of blood and give results in 15 minutes rather than forcing people to wait for 2 weeks. And of course, those rapid tests have been corrected, so it's all good. Next page, lovely ad. Another page of ads. Look, there's Cher. She says Cher was performing at Air Canada Centre back in 2002. Holy Rollover and Covered Up by Brad Fraser. Organized religion is the bane of mankind, the enemy of the rational, and perhaps the strongest opponent to constructive cultural change that exists within our society. Such spiritual comfort and charitable work as organized religions might offer is counteracted by the divisiveness, self-righteous superiority, and need to control and convert others that has defined many religions throughout recorded history. In its handling of both the sex abuse scandal that has rocked the organization to its highest office and the request of a young gay man to take a same-sex date to the prom, the Catholic Church has once again distinguished itself as the uber hypocrites in a world of hypocrites. So this article is talking about there's ongoing sex scandals within the Catholic Church, priests diddling little boys. I would say every couple of years a new huge case comes out. So Brad Fraser is basically picking apart organized religion, especially the Catholic religion, Catholic Church. And he ends with, and for those who read this as hate material, let me be perfectly clear. I accept Catholics, but not their lifestyle. A little fluff piece called Toronto Empress Targeted with Pie. Toronto's drag empress bitch diva recently joined the ranks of Bill Gates and Jean Chrétien after she was publicly pied. Rumors quickly circulated that the empress was the target of angry environmentalists who disapproved of her overuse of hairspray. The empress was, in fact, simply part of a campy breast cancer fundraiser held at Zelda's restaurant to raise money for Gilda's Club. And for some party, I hate this ad, even back then was pretty bad. But it looks like it was a huge party. Recording artist Kim English, Lena Love was performing with her Love Slaves. I do remember this party. Lena Love gave a great performance. Main room, Sean Riker, DJ Paulo of Los Angeles, and upstairs, DJ Cesar Murillo of Toronto. And for some supplements, and for Fly nightclub, which I miss Fly so much. Our feature on Inside Out, Desire Exposed by Kamal Al-Salali. From fluffers to Middle Eastern drag queens, Kamal Al-Salali previews the 12th annual Toronto Lesbian and Gay Film and Video Festival. Here he starts with, pick up the program guide to this year's Inside Out, and you'll be forgiven for thinking that you've just stumbled across the latest softcore porn publication. Woo! Boys and girls caught in the act in various stages of undress or in the throes of passion will stare right back at you. Although the 12th annual Inside Out Toronto Lesbian Gay Film and Video Festival offers a multitude of films and videos covering a spectrum of nations, issues, and sexual proclivities, every entry attests to the political, social, or personal power of queer desires. These desires, secretive, guilt-ridden, and banished to narrative periphery only a few decades ago, are ready to explode right off the screen, embracing and jolting in equal measures. Some films may make you angry, others merely horny, lusting for romance or a quickie, but put together, this year's lineup offers a concentrated articulation of the pleasures, pains, and pitfalls of queer loves and lusts. So I'll just run through what he talked about, and you can maybe look those up and watch them this weekend, during COVID, during lockdown, during isolation. So Bruce Weber's documentary called Chop Suey, the celebrated photographer has crafted an open letter to his straight and married model and muse, Peter Johnson, a man for whom epithets such as Adonis-like seem woefully inadequate. While Weber's fascination with Johnson remains platonic, the same can't be applied to the leads in Richard Glazer's and Wash West's porn exploitation feature, The Fluffer. Wannabe filmmaker Sean Michael Cuneo moves to LA to pursue his dreams of making it in Hollywood, only to wind up working in a small porn company, first as a cameraman and then as a fluffer to his idol porn star and ultimate top Johnny Rebel, played by Scott Gurney. Despite its title, The Fluffer is a surprisingly touching and poignant deconstruction of gay male obsession with physical beauty to the detriment of emotional well-being. Los Angeles is also the setting for Circuit, part glamorous portrait, part cautionary tale of the circuit world from director Dirk Schaefer, who did Man of the Year. John is a small-time cop who moves to LA to live a more open life. It doesn't take long for him to become a fully bonded circuit boy after an encounter with Hector, a hot Latin hustler. Schaefer documents John's transformation from virgin to circuit whore in absorbing detail. A married man with a kid is the object of Javier Bardem's obsession in Second Skin, a gentle Spanish film from director Gerardo Vera. Predating his rise to fame in the Academy-nominated Before Night Falls, Bardem delivers a performance that spells sex appeal in every scene. While Alberta, the married man, may be a selfish, confused force, Bardem's Diego offers a picture of a lover who arrives to maintain a balance between his uncontrollable emotions and his self-respect and dignity. In Canadian filmmaker Ian Iqbal Rashid's short film, Stag, a South Asian soon-to-be groom and his white best man end up in the sack after a rowdy stag party. A mistake or the culmination of racial misunderstanding and prejudice between a once colonizer and the colonized. Fantasy, Another Country is an Israeli documentary. Two drag queens, one Arab Muslim, the other Jewish Arab, of Yemeni origins tell their stories of rejection and hurt from their own communities on the one hand, and from the mainly white conservative gay community in Tel Aviv on the other. Family Fundamentals. Arthur Dong's documentary examines parents in the religious and political right who have gay children and how they vehemently tried to suppress the gay rights movement. He also lists some films that weren't that great, but they had hot guys in it. So there's The Trip, Forrestal Boy, Kevin's Room, and The Iceman. So try and find those films and give them a look over. Next page, more ads. We have a feature from guest writer Sergio Alvarado, and it's called The Night of Our Lives. Mark Hall, remember we talked about Mark Hall last issue. He was the gay Catholic school student who wanted to take his boyfriend to the prom and is covered by the Canadian press. It was a big deal at that time. Mark Hall has been experiencing some major hassles because his Catholic high school principal is not willing to allow him to take his boyfriend to the senior prom. The school's defense is that a same-sex date is against the teachings of the Catholic Church. Strangely, those same Catholic teachings let me take my boyfriend, Chris Sargent, to the prom 2 years ago without any hassle or fanfare at all. The school administration was aware that I had a boyfriend and of his identity prior to the prom, and my friends all knew that I intended to bring Chris to the event. And when the big day came, I was 17 at that point, we got into our prom attire. I was dressed in a blue and black three-piece suit, while Chris wore a classic olive suit. We drove a luxury Oldsmobile up to the Marriott Hotel, intending to have the night of our lives, which we did. The principal, Leanne Lefebvre, was happy to see us together and even kissed us both hello. We danced together but refrained from slow dancing in the main hall, but we did manage to sneak a kiss in the outside lobby when no one was looking. So even though he's saying how he had no problem taking his boyfriend to the prom 2 years prior to Mark Hall's ordeal being covered in the press, he's saying he had no problem doing it, but he still did have problems doing it because he wasn't comfortable slow dancing with his boyfriend, and he had to sneak a kiss away from everyone else in the hall. He still wasn't really free to bring his boyfriend to the prom. Even though the school allowed it, society did not. And not much has really changed. There are still people who feel uncomfortable bringing their same-sex partners to their high school prom. And I remember about 10 years ago, there was actually something called the gay prom that would happen every prom season where it was a prom for gay kids. So you go there and just have a great time with people of your own age. And if you had a partner, you would bring your partner. If you don't, you might pick one up. Next page, some more ads. Next page is a feature by Michael Rowe. It's a book review and interview with the author. Queer literary it boy Michael B. Smith discusses his new novel, Cumberland, and interested in people who are having man-on-man sex. I've never been an autobiographical writer, muses novelist Michael B. Smith, leaning back gracefully in his chair. His eyes are wide and almond-shaped, and his hands are the hands of an androgynous dancer, slender-fingered and artfully expressive. The closest I get to autobiography is emotional truth, he says. This book encapsulates for me all the loneliness and isolation I felt growing up in a small town. The book is about loneliness and finding community, Smith says. In some sense, that's really the queer experience. As a boy, Smith's sexuality, never secret to others in Cornwall, demanded a brutal tribute. I was really a fey young kid, he says gamely. Everybody knew I was gay. There was no hiding it. I didn't get beaten up, but I got verbally harassed. The level of scrutiny I was under was unreal. I couldn't cross the street without someone shouting something. Riding public transit was a nightmare for me. It took me years before I could be comfortable with crowds. Although the protagonists in Cumberland are apparently straight, the exploratory sexuality of Ernest, the mill worker with a curiosity about park sex, embodies the conflicts and conundrums of small-town blue-collar life, where even the body and its hungers are replete with as many questions as answers. I'd hoped that writing this book about lost and lonely people would make me feel less lost and lonely, Smith says a little ruefully, but I don't think it's made the feeling go away. Then, with modest wonder, he clarifies, it's made me understand it more intimately, and that means I have less fear of it. You become the master of yourself, and emotion doesn't drive you. A feature from Elio, our music editor. Music Q&A with music editor Elio. Some gay guys have jewels, some don't. I love and caress the gay lifestyle and its lingo, says Kevin Alliance. I'm a black gay queen who was taught by my forefather queens in the streets. I still call everyone Miss Thang. This is the year of Aviance. His recently released hit single, Alive, just reached #1 on the Billboard dance charts. His new album, Entity, will be launched winter of 2002. This year, he co-stars in the hip-hop horror flick Urban Massacre, playing a transsexual psychic. 2 years ago, this Virginia-born New York ruling queen played a sassy and wise drag mother, Miss Smokey, in the romantic comedy drama Punk, just before headlining another Saturday night with Junior Vasquez at the New York club Exit. So Elio asks, you were raised in a drag house and went on to lead the House of Ambiance for Queens in Need. Have you seen a decline in older queens opening their doors for younger ones? Kevin Albiance replies, maybe in places like Toronto and Chicago because the new community is part of the Madonna generation. In New York, ethnic and black gays get thrown out of their homes more often and must find a gay parent. In Canada, you don't have that many problems with gays. In America, there's always a problem. Whew, don't we know? So Elio's regular column remix, where he talks about all sorts of music for that 2-week period. It's official. There's a war on GHB and DJ Junior Vasquez is leading it. Vasquez, who is as mad as a European cow at New York City drug dealers for putting the city's top dance venues, namely his jewel and crown gig at Club Exit, in jeopardy, released a statement on his website that blasted some of his chemical queen clientele. I was laughing at the mad as a European cow description of Junior Vasquez. Then I had to remember that in 2002, we were going through mad cow disease, which originated in Europe. So Ilya goes on to talk about how DJ Paulo was agreeing with DJ Junior Vasquez and how GHB was destroying the club circuit. It's still out there. It's still doing crazy things. Paulo was in town that week at Toronto Club Halo on May 19th, spinning a dark house set alongside golden-throated singer Kim English. English will also be headlining with trainee vocalist, wouldn't say that word now, Salida, and drag queen Connie Casserole at Vancouver's Pride Festival this summer. He goes on to talk about R&B newcomers House of Twang, as well as Peaches and Cream, Gloria Gaynor. I like this quote. Who's over? DJ Shadow. His moody beats need therapy. Beware of his latest, gravest disc, The Private Press. Talk about Kylie Minogue, even Kiss and Gene Simmons. What do you say about Kiss and Gene Simmons? In an interview in May's URB magazine, Moby breaks wind on how Scary Mary Gene Simmons from Kiss shared a flight with him back from the Winter Olympics concert. Moby told URB that Simmons hit him up with a "Moby, you're a powerful and attractive man" line. Moby is still contemplating a future collaboration with Kiss. Then he does some reviews of discs. Talks about Miguel Biggs, New Tempo, and Dimitri from Paris. Remember Dimitri from Paris? Oh my god, I love Dimitri from Paris. His disc, After the Playboy Mansion, I believe I have that. Another diamond, Dimitri from Paris, astounding. After the Playboy Mansion disc should be retitled After the Playgirl Mansion. The compilation screams gay, gorgeous, and glam, with DJ Larry Levin and Gwen Guthrie's Peanut Butter, Grace Jones and Danny Tenegra's Feel Up, and De La Soul and Chaka Khan's It Ain't All Good. In this case, it is all good. And then we get to my flash deep dish spread, Keeping Up with the Joneses. April saw the debut performance of the newest prepackaged pop group launched by Lone Eagle Music, creators of Sugar Jones. Remember them? I don't. Using their patented pop stars formula. Thinking the group would be pure Velveeta, I was cheerfully surprised when they turned out an excellent performance at Tonic Nightclub. Turning up to hear Janelle, Lacey, Alex, Ryan, and Justin, who make up the new Velvet Empire, were hordes of screaming teens and industry professionals, including Erica M. of Much Music. Miss E, for those who care, is now a country music singer. Of the group members, I predict the gorgeous Janelle, who looks remarkably like Janet Jackson with her velvety voice and clone style, will pull a Ginger Spice in the near future. The boys are also of interest. Justin, the bodacious blonde, has luscious lips perfect for, singing, while Ryan's big, bold, grippable ears are perfect for, listening to Justin sing. The religious Ryan lists the Bible as his favorite book, while Vanity Fair and Wallpaper are his favorite magazines. Who knew Christians had such camembert tastes? KY is safer, but Vaseline can loosen anyone up. Will Monroe recently hosted his 30th Vaseline queer punk rock party at the Gritty Lee's Palace. Held the last Friday of each month, these parties cater to the Queen Street Alternative Queer set, so please leave your flashy body wear at home. Vaseline, V-A-Z-A-L-E-E-N, originally spelled V-A-S-L-I-N-E, until the Unilever Corporation unleashed their hounds, has grown from a small party when it was housed at Elmo Combo to well over 600 people tonight. The night has seen a slew of performers, including the hip-hoppity Lady Bunny of New York City. Most recently, amidst projected retro porn and vintage cartoons, hard rock girl group Rocket Tits performed while underwear-clad go-go dancers delighted and participants competed in a server pole dance competition. May's spectacle will see a juicy jack-off contest hosted by the sex shop Come As You Are. June's anti-pride party, Shame, will be expanded to both floors of Lee's Palace. We're Funny That Way's A Capital Fair, a benefit for the 519 Community Center, presented a mixed bag of nutty performers, including Gavin Crawford camping up a scene from the horror movie Carrie, Savoy Fair's Mick Manoshlovic using a huge double-ended dildo as a rolling pin, and Teresa Pavlinek, who provided the best performance of the night as a supermodel campaigning for the position of Prime President of Canadiana. Then it happened. Rex Harrington, donning a hooker wig and horrid Bar 501-esque tube dress, blew the audience away lip-syncing Tina Turner's Private Dancer. Though Rex claims he tucked and pulled, a bulge was still noticeable, making me stand up on my tippy toes to catch a showing of the real Nutcracker. And the photos here are by Stefan Gregoire. So we have Nick Manoshlovic and Gavin Crawford at the Comedy Festival. We have Anne-Marie McDonald gets off her knees at We're Funny That Way Comedy Festival. Maggie Casella tries to finger out Rex Harrington. Vaseline's Will Monroe deals with post-wig sweat. This is backstage, of course. We have Punk's Not Dead, Amanda Roberts at Miss Gay Toronto at Woody's. I don't believe I actually wrote about that, but it's in there anyways. Frank at Vaseline. Fee Fi Fo Fum. We have John Bears' Cross and a bit more at Will Monroe's underwear fashion show at Remington's. I think that was a different night. Anyone, Ellen at something. We didn't put the rest of that, but apparently we have a shot of Ellen from back in the day. Chris, John, and Moses, smooth carpet burn and stubble at Woody's Best Chess Contest. Misaki, I miss Misaki. Well, I don't miss Misaki because she's still here. Misaki, part-time underwear model, full-time blow-up doll. Billy Carroll at It's a Boy's Life. And Velvet Empire strikes a pose. Next, we have a 2-page ad for the Unified Weekend, a Pride Party festival put on by the Unified Group. The Unified Group came before what most people know as Prism. And Unified Group was formed by 5 original members. And the Unified Group consisted of Jason Ford, David Dean, Michael Schwartz, Keir McRae, and one other member whose name, like Voldemort, we shall not mention. Next page, we have an ad for Trojan Liquid Silk, Mish Things, or miscellaneous things. So of course, FAB started getting a lot of products sent to the office in order to be promoted in the magazine. Mitchell decided he would give the assignment to one of the editors usually, and then they would go out and find someone fairly well known in the community who would appreciate that product or who would use that product, or that editor would then interview that person about what they thought about the product. Of course, it's always very tongue-in-cheek. Stephen Breze writes, for unconditional hair, nice package. The curves feel good in the hand, says Sunil Parkesh, one of Toronto's premier stylists and co-owner of the ultra-swank salon Lid Lounge. Mr. Parkesh pulls up a glass jar from the high-end aesthetics company Phytocracy. The label reads ultra nourishing conditioner, but you can't just look at the conditioner, he says. The proof is in the pudding. The next one was a stick with huge diamonds. So this was about a diamond-studded nail file. The diamond nail file sparkles brighter than the average beauty aid. But does this diamond have substance, or is it just glitz and glamour? To find out, we march over to Tracks 5, remember Tracks 5? Where Miss Bitch Diva is hosting her Wednesday night drag cabaret. Quiet please, there's a diva on stage. Between acts, Miss Diva manages to sneak backstage for a quick touch-up with the diamond file. I was expecting a stick with huge diamonds on it, she says, disappointed. As Miss Diva files, she shares some of her personal nail secrets, including how she loathes press-ons. But with so many products competing to enhance a girl's charms, will Miss Diva actually use the diamond file? Sure, because you're going to give it to me and let me keep it. Before we can protest, she tucks the file into her cleavage and sachets back onto the stage. That's written by Ryan Porter. It's our twink column by Alex Rolson. Bati Boys prefer house. Bati Boys is, of course, a derogatory term, a Jamaican island derogatory term for gay man. It's Friday night and Turbo nightclub is starting to fill up. It's my first jungle night and I'm pretty apprehensive about going. As an ex-candy kid, yes, I sported fat pants, rainbow bracelets, and stuff to soothe her. I've always been scared of that scene, and tonight it's full-out jungle. The bass is pounding, the drums are kicking in, the room is a haze of smoke. I look around the crowd and try to find a fellow friend of Dorothy's. There is an adorable boy dancing right by me. He does have that standard issue peroxide blonde, and he's pierced. But seeing as how the ring is through his septum, I should probably keep my distance. So Alex finishes with, but not everyone in the jungle scene has problems with homos. Toronto party scene stalwart, DJ Trance, aka Don Burns, wanted to make it clear that most of the people in the jungle scene are really nice. They're really cool. They're really friendly. But I still get the feeling whenever I walk into a jungle room that there are people there who are going to say, you're a fag. Another ad page, Gen XL, Patrol column by Paul Bellini. Stop me if you've heard the one about the overweight guys who hold their monthly meeting at a pastry shop. As an openly adipose person myself, I'm anxious to meet the Gen X Bears, an organization of gay men, mostly under 30, who identify with the bear movement. We meet at Just Desserts. There are about 20 members drifting in and out of the informal get-together, most of them clustered around me in a semicircle. As I sat there, legs crossed, notepad on my knee, I felt just like Diane Sawyer. And yes, those guys were young, hairy, and heavy. So JD, who's a member of the group, says, "This is family," he said, sweeping his arm over the gang. These guys don't just have body image issues, they also have coming out issues. There's a Gen X Bears International organization with several branches, and yes, even a constitution, which overstresses the all-inclusive policy of the organization. Indeed, this is the most racially diverse group I've ever seen. They've even been approached by a woman who wants to join. She's a mama bear, said one of the boys, but can women be bears? And if so, do they have to be hairy? Ad for M4M. Gino, the taxi driver. This is Todd Klink's trade column. Mid-process of moving into a new studio with a full-size wrestling ring, an oil wrestling pit, and a lighting grid, ideal for video production. Friends know that I'm entering an era of my life that will require a lot of male flesh, and they are being appropriately helpful. Typically flaky, out-of-breath phone call from Brandon. Hey Todd, you gotta put Gino on the guest list tonight. Who's Gino? My taxi driver, he wants to meet you. I think he could be a model. He's a pervert, big 12-inch cock, into guys, girls, whatever, but he wants to wear a mask. So Todd was running his own business. He was doing an X-rated film company where he filmed models and put them on the internet. I called Gino later in the week. He comes over in the bright light. He's actually cute, 5'9", slim, nice skin. I didn't verify the 12 inches. I ask a few questions and tell him that the guys we use are into being models for one of two reasons. They either want money and are comfortable enough to do adult video to get it, or they are just guys who want to have sex, who want the experience of being in a shoot. I ask him what he's looking for, and he says he wants both. I tell him bluntly, if you want to wear a mask, we can't pay you anything. We have tons of volunteer models who do it for free. So if you just want to have fun, then fine, wear the mask and come on down. So Todd tells him exactly what sort of things that he's filming: floor mat, fight videos, baby oil, wrestling, spanking videos, and tons of female photo shoots. And some light S&M photo shoots starring Todd himself as the dominant. Gino is excited at the idea of the she-male thing and at the prospect of being dominated, and says, okay, well, I don't get money, but I get the fun, so that's fine. Call me whenever you need me, and I'll be there. Play Safe, the Safe Sex column by James Murray. The Crisco Report. In 1911, Procter & Gamble introduced Crisco, and gay men who like fisting have been enjoying it ever since. Crisco is a vegetable-based shortening that has enough staying power and lubrication to facilitate fisting. The actor places the entire hand and sometimes the lower arm inside the butt of another guy. Fisting Wisdom 101. Avoid reusing the same block or tub of Crisco. Bacteria collected from one fisting partner may be transferred to another through the Crisco. Crisco can last 6 months to a year. If it smells rancid, don't use it. Fuck before you fist, not the other way around. Don't fist, then fuck, because that would be kind of like throwing a hot dog down the Grand Canyon. Some more ads for Cell Block there, as well as some supplements. Ad for the release party, which we talked about.
I honestly can't even remember this party.
Some more ads. Fierte, Pride Fierte. Really interesting that Pride Ottawa was called Fierte because Pride Montreal was called Diversité for a long time, and it was a huge spectacle. But then everything fell apart, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. It was Gay Village. For some reason, they, I guess they got annoyed because a lot of the parties were happening outside of the village for Pride, but I thought it was really strange because tons of people went back and forth from the main stages, which were in Barrie Park, back to the village to eat, to drink, to dance. It was packed. So the business owners in the actual village, they put up a protest and they started launching their own Pride Festival separate from Diversité, and they called it Fierte. I don't think Diversité even happens anymore now. Ad for Spa Fest, Spring Patio Special, I-Go Locker, $10 in the room. Listings, where to go, what to do, comics for the Chelsea Boys, created by Glenn Hansen and Alan Newworth, by the way. And this issue has the main characters meeting and falling in love, and then one of them goes away for business, and the other one can't control his dick and ends up having sex in the park with another guy, and then giving his partner gonorrhea, and how they broke up and how they came back together again. Story of my life. Some more information, where to go to get stuff, more information, pages, the FAB city map, where the bars are, where gay businesses are, more businesses, FAB classifieds, and the full color Zelda's ad, Eat That Muff. And Stefan Gregoire's Fab Boy was James. James, this 19-year-old Toronto high school student, likes guys his own age and 5 guys without attitude. That's guys who go to 5 nightclub. On weekends, he goes mountain biking along the Bruce Trail, enjoying trees and weed. His music of choice is trance. So I tried to track down James, but sadly, I found out through a former partner of his, Chris David. So Chris David dated James when they were both 13 and 14 years old. Woo, they started young. So he informed me to say that sadly, James the Rich passed away in 2013. He was on his way to the gym and his heart just gave out. This was a result of horrible complications mixing medications that his doctor had prescribed him, sadly. And I have to thank James for providing these photos of James here. James, if you're up there, we're remembering you. Last page is an ad for the Gold Club series, sponsored by Benson Hedges. Cigarette companies can no longer sponsor parties at 5 Nightclub. And they were bringing in Lydia Prim, who's all over for Lydia, because Lydia is one of the few female DJs in the DJ world, especially the gay circuit party world. There was her, there was Alison Caligula, and there was Tracy Young. I don't know anyone else at that time, as we know. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Good Fab Friday, and we'll see you here next week. Have yourself a Good Fab Friday.